Good evening, I'm Scott York from scottyorkphoto.com. Thanks so much for joining me. It's late and I'm trying to get this video out to everybody because I feel like there's a lot of questions that I had and I feel like other people might have similar questions. And I'm trying to answer those questions as to what's going on with the bioluminescent event that's happening on our coastline. I've been doing a little bit of reading on it, and I remember other times that this happened. Back in 2011 was the last time that it was really this big, and back before that was 1995, I believe. I never saw either one of them, and I think part of it is just because the randomness of these events makes it very difficult to photograph and to go experience. And if you live at the beach, then you're lucky, and you get to just walk out your door and sort of go, oh, tonight it's not very good, or maybe tonight it's great. With the rest of us that live a little bit inland, it's kind of a chance. Today is May 6th, 2020. I went last night down to Newport Beach, and for those of you that are trying to figure out what's going on with the beaches, they are, I think, somewhat officially closed. I wanted to make this video just so you have a better idea before you go. So first thing we're going to talk about is parking. A lot of people want to park at the pier, and it's definitely closed, but there's still a line of cars going through there because I feel like there's a lot of people coming from all over Southern California trying to figure out what's going on, but they don't really know where to go or what to do and that kind of thing. So parking at Marina Park is still open from what I could tell, and it's always available along the median. This event is best viewed apparently 2 hours after 2 hours after sunset, so we're talking like 9:30 at night. So if you're driving down there and you get there around 9 o'clock or I'd say around 9 o'clock, you're probably in pretty good shape if you plan on staying for a while. But keep in mind, the bathrooms are non-existent in some places. They're open at the pier because the homeless are still there. But other than that, there isn't a whole lot open. Marina Park's bathrooms have been closed for months as far as I can tell. I haven't seen them open when I've been down there riding my bike or just visiting the beach back when it was open. So parking is a little bit of a concern, but I feel like if you park on the median just south of the pier, you'll be fine. The best viewing that I had last night was down at the Wedge, which means that you're parking in front of people's houses, which again is free all the time anyhow. It's just a matter of finding it and walking. And once again, for those of you that are not familiar with the Wedge or maybe not as familiar with Newport Beach, there are no bathrooms down in that area. I did not check 15th Street, but the whole idea is to try and get away from the light, so you want to get as far away from all of the street lights as possible anyhow. Secondly, let's talk about equipment real quick. I was shooting last night with this camera. This is just a Canon 80D crop sensor, but it does come equipped with the dual pixel autofocus system, which is what I like to use when shooting video. I got a Sigma 17 to 50 2.8 lens on it, which it's nice to have something that's wide open. That does give you a very shallow depth of field, but if you can focus on the waves using the touchscreen, I feel like that might be the quickest way to do it. If you're using your cell phone, I'm not saying you're not going to get something. In fact, the new Samsung cameras have like a 1.5 aperture. So I feel like you're in good shape with that. The biggest thing is that I feel like you need to have something besides just holding it with your hands. I feel like if you can have a tripod of some sort, no matter what it is, anything to hold on to that makes it a little bit easier so you're not trying to go like this, which is just very cumbersome and difficult and easy to drop. That's always going to be my recommendation, but that's for anything. That's anytime you're filming with a cell phone, not just at night. I know that most people like to film this way in portrait mode, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you're filming waves anyhow. If you have a full frame camera with a full frame sensor, if you have better video equipment, go for it. If you have a GoPro, forget it. GoPros are not designed for late night. It's way too dark to filming. They are designed for action during the day, broad daylight, sunshine. I feel like the ADD is pretty much weather sealed, so I wasn't too worried about taking it out, sand and water blowing around. I had my GoPro with me, and I felt like there was almost nothing I could get with that. It just wasn't bright enough, even with the moon being as full as it was, which brings us to our next hurdle. What are the three problems you're going to run into? Number one, the moon. If it's a full moon, which is coming up in the next couple of days, I believe, it's going to make it very difficult. Photography is nothing more than drawing with light, but you can't draw with light on top of light. Think about that for a second. It doesn't work real well. One of my colleagues had a really great idea and suggested that you go film by the pier because if it's crashing against those posts, that would be easy to film and easy to focus on, which would solve the whole problem that people are having with shooting still pictures as opposed to video. The problem with that suggestion is that the lights are on full blast on the pier, and there's too much light around to even see this. Not only that, but even just south of the pier, I was there for a little bit with a lot of other people, and there was nothing going on and nothing to see. Which brings us to point number two. People, there's going to be a lot of them. They're all going to be in your way. They're going to walk right in front of you. And a lot of them are using their cell phones to try and take still pictures of the waves, which I gotta say, unless this is happening all the time in the same spot, which is not what I experienced, it's going to be very difficult to take a still picture of this. The ones that you've seen online from people, I feel like have got to be pretty random, or it was 2 weeks ago when this thing was really hitting hard, and maybe it was in San Diego where they reported it being very strong, and there was a lot of these microorganisms that were creating this bioluminescence and the blue glow. The other thing you're going to deal with people is that a lot of people don't actually know how to use their equipment. So not only are they filming video this way, so they also can't turn off their light. So when they're filming video, they've got light on, which again doesn't make any sense because you don't want to have a bright light when you're trying to film light. Having the light on your cell phone is not what you want. You want the camera's settings to be as wide open as possible, as sensitive as possible, but without any light to illuminate anything. In fact, having the moon so bright last night, I feel like was sort of a hindrance. Now, in all of these clips that you're going to see, I bumped up the highs and the midtones in post because otherwise it's very difficult to kind of see what's going on. And I wanted you to be able to see the waves because you can see the blue, but the rest of it is usually pretty dark in most of these videos. So there is post-production work on every single one of these shots. And that brings me to the third and toughest part about all of this. These are microorganisms. They do not follow a pattern. It's random. And unless it's coming every single wave and you can just set it up ahead of time and have your camera pointed at that wave and be like, all right, the next one is going to come and I'll be ready for it and hit record. Or if you just set up your camera with a tripod and record it for 5 minutes straight, you're going to catch something. I'm pretty sure, unless you're in an area where there's absolutely nothing going on. So the best place that I found so far was down at the Wedge, and that's where all this footage was taken. We didn't see anything below the pier, north of the pier. I've had colleagues that have gone to other locations. A friend of mine went to Long Beach on Monday night, just west of Rosie's Beach, and was able to kind of stomp on the sand and see a little bit of this. But I feel like without any crashing waves, because Long Beach has a breakwater that really prevents any big waves, without the waves rolling in, there really wasn't as much to be seen as there is down at the dirty old Wedge. So keep in mind, if you're going to go to the Wedge, there are no bathrooms down there. It is blocked off completely, but all the locals are there. You park in front of somebody's house, and you can just walk over there. At one point, we did see police, and I don't know if they were warning people or what. They closed off the location that we had all kind of walked through, but there was 100 people on the beach, so at 9:30, at 10 o'clock at night. Anyways, I hope that helps you out a little bit. I hope everyone has at least as good a luck as I did, and I feel like that's a lot of it is luck. Keep in mind, it is random. You'll see it in one wave and not the next, not for several, then all of a sudden it'll show up again. It'll be over here, then over here. Any type of video camera you're using that's a dedicated video camera should give you great results, as long as it's not a cheapo camcorder. That would not work. Those things don't work really well in low light typically. If it's an SLR, anything with the dual pixel autofocus should keep the waves in focus pretty well. Unfortunately, I noticed when I was done, I was in manual focus mode when I switched over to video. Truth be told, working in the dark, not always the easiest thing to do. And I noticed afterwards that I think for most of my videos, it had been in the manual setting, which means that it didn't even matter that I was using a camera with that type of autofocusing system. But still, if you're going to shoot video with an SLR, I still think that the 80D, 90D, and of course the 5D Mark IV, and I believe the 6D Mark II, you can correct me on that later, but if you're into that system, you know which models have it. So anyhow, I hope this all helps you guys out. I wish you the best as always. I'm Scott York from Scott York Photography. If you like hearing the sound of my voice as much as I do, I've got a new beginning photography series starting up pretty soon, so please subscribe to the channel, and you can check that out when it comes up next week.